is Sophia Haber Brock, and welcome back to the North News, Quarantine Edition. Today I had the opportunity to speak with the Superintendent of the Middletown Public School District, Dr. William George. What was the process in becoming a superintendent?
I always wanted to be a teacher my whole life. Both my mother and father were teachers, and I wanted to teach. And I went to, when I think back to the time I was in high school, I knew that's what I wanted to study. So education is what I studied in undergraduate at Michigan State University, which was a very good education school. And then I had the opportunity after that to do a graduate assistantship at Ohio State and get a master's in teaching, and I did that. And then I made a decision to come home back to New Jersey and start teaching in New Jersey. So I started in the Little Silver public schools in elementary physical education, in the lower elementary school and in the middle school, and had a great experience there. And after that, I went to Long Branch High School. And after a great experience there, I went into administration at Long Branch High School. I don't think the goal was ever to be superintendent for me. The goal was just to really try to find the best way possible to assist students. I always think of my parents as my first teachers. They were my role models for teachers. So I wanted to advocate for my students the way my parents advocated for me. And that was, really has always been a philosophy for me throughout my educational career, to inspire and motivate and help young people become what they're capable of becoming, so that was the goal. And with that just came a commitment to whatever job I was in, whether it was in, Little Silver in the elementary school, or Long Branch in the high school where I was a teacher and then a head teacher, or assistant principal in Long Branch Middle School, or principal at Monmouth Regional. I just always saw myself as an advocate for students and trying to provide the best educational opportunities for our students. I believe that educators are the procurers of the American dream. And I really wanted to make sure that I helped our students maximize their opportunity to be successful. Somewhere along the way, that led me to this position.
What are your duties as superintendent?
My duties as superintendent are to work with the teachers and administrators, both building level administrators and subject specific administrators, to provide the very best educational opportunities for our students in our 17 schools. And so what my days have always looked like is a series of meetings and walkthroughs and collaborations with teachers and administrators, looking at what really works in instruction and how we could best support our teachers, and also communication. It's a very important part. I have monthly parent information committee meetings where I communicate with parents. We have our bi-monthly Board of Education meetings where I communicate with the community to make sure that they have an understanding of what we do. You might have heard, Sophia, about our strategic planning process. That's a big part of what we do. So what we try to do is, give our school community, citizens, parents, students, an opportunity to provide input to the direction that we're going, and the input into, what they expect from their school district as a community. That's a big part of my job. We're just coming to the end of the writing process of our second 5-year strategic planning process, after a series of meetings all year with the public and taking public input and surveying the public to find out, what they think their expectations for us as a school district are. The favorite part of my job is my meetings with students, and I think you've been at some of those. So, my meetings with our students at High School North and High School South, I've always regarded our high school students as experts in the educational process, I'm sure you've heard me say this, but you have been to in our school district for more than a decade now. Most of our students. So really, when I'm meeting with them at that level, and so hearing their feedback about what they've thought about their education process from lower elementary to upper elementary to middle school and in high school. We've always tried to take those meetings with students and provide student voice, and whether it was Dr. Cartier and I or Mr. Kirkpatrick, we've always tried to take the feedback we've gotten from our students and implement that feedback into positive change for the district. A large part of our district initiatives right now is personalized learning for students. A big part of that is student voice, student choice. I think that's really provide a high level of success during this time of virtual learning. I've been very impressed with your work and what you've been doing, and even connected your videos and your interviews as part of our newsletter, because what you're doing, I think, in this time is so important. You're finding your voice, you're showing leadership, you're also expanding on your own educational opportunities. And that's, our MTPS Spark Personalized Learning Initiative. That's what that's all about. So when you asked me over the weekend, could I jump in with you on Monday? I was like, yeah, let me rearrange my schedule. If 10 o'clock's when you can do it, let's do it. Let's have a conversation, because I'm so impressed with what you're doing. And I want to encourage others to do the same thing.
Thank you so much. So how has your duties changed because of quarantine?
These virtual meetings all day long, exhausting. Don't you find it exhausting? And I know our teachers do too. I think all of us are working harder. So I would say the first way it's changed is because we're working harder, because we're working differently, right? And when I talk to the teachers, our teachers are educational experts, and they know the subject-specific content. They know when students are learning, and they know what that looks like. And they're working so hard to tweak this virtual learning process to make sure that our students can be successful. And that's a lot of stress. I think it's a lot of stress for our students. I mean, between what's going on in the world right now and this worldwide health crisis, and then and the isolation that all students face, and then on top of it, to continue, staying focused on your learning, that's a lot. It's a lot on the plate of our teachers. It's a lot on the plate of educators, our counselors, making sure we're there for their students. But it's a lot for our students. And so my days change because the lines are blurred. There's no time to come to work and time to leave work. There seems to just be a never-ending focus on what I can do to support our students, our families, and our staff members. So whether that's what we need to do social-emotionally, what we need to do to put in place to support from, whatever resources they need, whether it's meals, whether it's counseling, whether it's academic support, anything we can do to support our students and their families during this time. That's really been my goal. I said from the very beginning in this process, this is an opportunity to connect with our students on a different level, to reconnect them to their path of lifelong learning, to use our district goal of personalized learning to develop virtual learning and put the supports in place so that our students could be successful, find a new way to deliver our social and emotional goals so that students have the confidence and the support to be successful in this time. Those are really the kind of things, Sophia, that I'm thinking about. It seems like all the time. I usually wake up about 5 a.m. and start looking through my emails, thinking about the day, figure out some emails, try to exercise a little bit, and be online and working at 8 o'clock, And the meetings go into the night. They always did, though. That's always been part of my job. But that's part of, making sure I'm communicating with the public and we're being transparent. So I hope that's an overview of what the job looks like. Gives you a little insight.
So how do you think the students and teachers and faculty of the Middletown Public School District are handling it?
I am so proud to work in this community. I grew up in Monmouth County and lived here almost all my life, except the time I was away in college. I always thought of Middletown as a great community, an amazing town. And I think in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. And we've really shown our students, our families, our teachers, our administrative team has shown how much we care about this community. I love that phrase, Middletown helps its own, and there's a tremendous sense of pride in the community of Middletown. We take great pride in our school system, and I think our students have high expectations, and we've really seen this. There's been a lot of talk about virtual learning and grading, but for us as educators, the teachers and the administrators, we've really tried to stay focused on making sure that we provide the social emotional supports as well as the educational supports, because we knew that our students and our families, parents and guardians would have very high expectations for what learning should look like, and they do. We just wanted to make sure that we have all the other supports in place during this health crisis so that we can truly support and sustain learning throughout the course of the entire school year. When we first went forward with virtual learning, we thought that in the planning for this, we thought that when we closed school on a Friday and opened virtual learning the following Monday, just 2 days later, we thought we'd be for a short period of time. But instead, it's been a prolonged process. And I've had meetings with students, I've had meetings with teachers, I have ongoing meetings with students, I have ongoing meetings with teachers and administrators, thinking about what can we do to provide the best educational experience because of those high expectations that our students and their families have, and at the same time, make this sustainable and to make sure we have an opportunity for our students to be successful in the content moving forward. Because as you know, education is sequential. So the content in the curriculum that we're learning on each grade level is going to carry over to the following year and the potential success of the following year. But I would say that our students, to me, I couldn't be prouder of the work that our students have done during this time, and I couldn't be prouder of the work that our administrators have done during this time. And certainly our teachers and our support staff have just counselors, guidance counselors, all of the people that work in support of students, nurses, have just done such an incredible job.
Can you explain the new grading system and the reasoning behind it?
First of all, we wanted to make sure that any student, and there are a lot of students that are excelling in this moment and doing really, really good, earning grades equal to or better than they had prior to us going to virtual learning, we're going to be rewarded for that. So that's where you see the grades above a 90. Those are the grades that students, real examples are students totally excelling in this moment. When we look at elementary is, it's standards based. So it's really kind of, it aligns differently than a numerical grade that we get in middle school and high school. We treated middle school and high school the same way. There's some real challenges. Nobody thought when we were going into this that we were going to provide an educational model right off the bat that was going to be equal to or better than having the opportunity to come to school every day and learn with your teachers and from your teachers and with classmates in that regular school environment. So there's some real challenges that presents and some equity issues. Like, for example, for some students, they have the opportunity to work at home with the support of older siblings or with parents, and they have their own personal device and they have unlimited connectivity, and that provides them an opportunity to really excel and do really well. Other students aren't so fortunate. Even just as we all know, in this isolating times, having the opportunity to go someplace by yourself and work alone and work individually. Not everybody has that. Not everyone has those opportunities. So we wanted to make sure for those students that these circumstances presented significant challenges, that the grading policy was flexible enough for us to reinforce, first of all, your health and well-being during this health crisis is first and foremost. And then secondly, connecting them with the opportunity to learn whenever, wherever they can learn, and make it about motivating them to be successful because they want to do it, rather than a reward versus punitive grading system that is during this challenging time of isolation has put more challenges for those students. So our grading policy is more flexible, but it still rewards those students that are excelling and really doing well in this time. And that was the goal. And even to do that, I discussed that I don't make any decisions as superintendent individually. I don't, as a superintendent, make decisions individually. These decisions were made with input from students, from principals, from assistant principals, from subject-specific experts, with the thought process, let's make sure that we're saying what we mean and meaning what we say. And that is that your health and emotional well-being is first and foremost. And secondly, that we're trying to use this as an opportunity to reconnect students with the skills of lifelong learning. And it's about staying focused on the content, not necessarily the grades you got. And how can we help you? And how can we make sure you're overcoming those challenges of connectivity or having the opportunity to work alone or getting some of the supports that other students are getting, because learning looks differently in this moment than it did prior when we were coming to school every day.
So how's the learning going to translate to next year and the coming years after this whole thing is hopefully over?
We believe that our students have been very focused on their academic success, and we have a lot of measurable outcomes to look at that. The learning that's going on in the classrooms, the ability that teachers have to cover the curriculum, but we are also planning for potentially, because of the change and because of the disruption, an academic slide. So that's part of what we're planning for as we move forward. So we want to make sure that our students have every opportunity to be successful. We might have to handle the start of the school year with curriculum differently next year based on all those factors that we get back from our teachers and from our building level administrators and our subject specific experts. We might have to tweak the way we deliver the curriculum last year. There's one other thing I want to say about grading. We wanted to make sure, with all the challenges that are happening and going on right now in this minute, when there are other states who stop grading as of that time when we went into the social distancing isolation, And those grades that they had were the grades for the rest of the year. We didn't want our students who have such high expectations, particularly seniors that are going to be graduating high school. But even if you're anywhere between freshman and senior, and we continued with grading, and it was more difficult and students' grades went down, it was going to make it harder for them to compete in an already very challenging college recruiting process and choosing the schools that they wanted to go in. So it was really important for us that we didn't put our students during these extremely difficult times in more challenging positions than other states, other counties, other school districts were putting their students in. That's another, I think, important part as it comes to grading, Sophia.
So what's going to happen with graduation for the seniors?
I just sent you a document, from the DOE. So between now and June 30th, all celebrations and graduations, promotions, celebration, proms have to remain virtual. But our building level administrators, assistant principals, and are working with students. We've gotten a lot of feedback from parents. We're surveying students as well, I believe. So we're trying to get as much feedback as possible. It unfortunately is going to be virtual because we don't have any other choice. And I just want to say that if there was any way that we could participate in more traditional celebrations for our students, I, for one, would want to do this. I know as a father myself of a senior in college graduating who lost the spring of her senior year and a more traditional graduation, the culmination of her educational career, how difficult that is. I feel so bad for our students who have not been able to have a typical educational experience along with their co-curricular activities, whether it's chorus, band, sports, clubs in this spring semester. That's so unfortunate, and my heart really aches for all of our students. To be involved with spring activities and particularly in your senior year, but still very important, whether we're talking about, an elementary play or a middle school play or band concerts, choral music concerts. All of these opportunities have been lost for our students. And I just want to heartfelt say how sorry I am. I wish that had not happened for you. I think of our students continuously. My heart aches because of that. But we're in this moment, so we have to make the best of the opportunities provided for us. So we want to get feedback from our students. Where, as a matter of fact, emails came in this morning from students about what they want their seniors, about what they want graduation to look like. I'm hearing from our students. We're going to try to do everything we can. One of the things that the governor said and the commissioners said is be as creative as you can be. So I welcome that feedback from our students. I know the building level administrators, principals welcome that feedback. Dr. Cartier and Mr. Kirkpatrick, they welcome that feedback. We want them to be as meaningful as they can possibly be. Unfortunately, they're not going to be the traditional celebrations that we've all become accustomed to. And we're all sad about that.
So how about you personally and with your family life? How has that changed because of quarantine?
I have two college daughters who have come home and are living at home for the first time in a long time. My wife and I have 4 children, and for the first time in a very long time, all 4 are in the house. So we try to take advantage of that family time. And I think that's been one of the silver linings for everyone, right? Is to try to, during difficult times, you try to keep your family close. And I've tried to keep my family close, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. The difficult thing, and I think our teachers are feeling this, our students are feeling this, is we don't get as much time to spend together as we would like because we're learning differently. Our work looks differently, whether you're a student or you're a teacher, you're an administrator, it's more labor intensive and it takes more time. So we probably, none of us get as much time to spend with our families as we would like. I love teaching. So I've always tried to stay involved learning. I'd say my number one hobby is learning. And I think that teaching is a great way to learn. I think it goes back to my passion for personalized learning, student-directed learning. I see myself as a student. I will always be a student. And I believe in the power of collaboration. I believe in the power of student-directed learning. So I have always tried to be involved in teaching on the higher ed level to make myself the best administrator, the best teacher that I can be, and to be a lifelong learner. So that's one hobby. I'm an outdoorsman. Living in Monmouth County and living in this area, I love the ocean. I love the river. I really enjoy fishing. I enjoy sailing. And my number one hobby is rowing. In the summer, another hobby for me is that I'm a lifeguard. I've worked for a very long time, more years than I want to admit, as a lifeguard. And I got involved at a very young age in rowing with lifeguarding. And I row, my brother and I row every morning, early in the morning, and before I go to work. And I try to be out rowing 4 or 5 days a week. I like exercising, running. I used to go to a gym, but now it's calisthenics because there are no gyms. They're closed. But I like those physical activities. But more than anything else, I like being an outdoorsman. I love to be, surfing, rowing, fishing, anything I could do outdoors.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a little bit about your retirement. So, did you just decide to retire, or was it planned?
It's 33 years of this educational career, and I would say that there's been a change every close to every decade, 8 or 9 years. There's been a change in what I've done. I think that's just been an opportunity for me to grow. So I started in elementary school, and then I went as a teacher, and then I went to high school as a teacher and coach. And even during the time when I was in elementary, I was a high school coach though. And then I went to middle school, and I was an assistant principal. And then I went back to high school, and I was a high school principal at Monmouth Regional. And then I became an assistant superintendent in Hazlitt. And then I became superintendent in Hazlitt. So I've always embraced change. I think that's part of why when you ask me my first hobby is learning, because I think that change process and lifelong learning is important to me. And then I had this opportunity to go from a long-term adjunct college professor career to a full-time college professor. And I thought that was the next step for me. I plan to still work directly with pre-K to 12 school districts, working on the research surrounding teaching and learning and student-directed learning and anything that can assist students to be more successful and to motivate students. So I feel like although I'm changing careers, I'm just going at it differently, what I've been trying to do all along. Coming back to where we started this whole conversation, to motivate, to inspire students, to help them to be successful, to help them accomplish their goals. When I look at, what I've always hoped for my students that I've worked with, I've always hoped that they would become confident, that through a series of successes that our students would know that they are capable of accomplishing their goals, being successful, and much more importantly, successful by their definition so that they can be happy. Because when it really comes down at the end of the day, when I look at our 9,601 students, I think of my own 4 children, and all I hope for them is for them to be happy. I want them to be successful by their definition so that they're confident, so that they see themselves by their own definition as being successful, and that they're confident so that success and that happiness can continue for them.
So those are all my questions. So is there anything else you would like to say?
I am really grateful to you in this moment, to being such a great example of what I believe personalized learning is. You have found television production, I know is a passion for you. You're an outstanding student. You're a leader in your school, Middletown High School North. That's very clear to me. I've seen that, and I've seen you grow. But here you are in this middle of this difficult situation of, a global pandemic and a health crisis, and you are very focused on communicating. I've watched your, your interviews with legislators and just people that really show that you have a great understanding of the difficulty of this moment, but you're using it to grow and to be, the best version of yourself that you can be. That's the power of education. And I think it's always that confidence in this moment that I was talking about. You're a clear example of a student who is a lifelong learner, who is focused and believes in, you believe in yourself, and you're really flourishing in this moment. So yeah, when you reached out to me over the weekend, I'm like, I was honored. I would love to be on this show. I would love to talk to you. So thank you, Sophia. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep telling our story. I also spoke to Mr. Rotolo about, developing a student-led component to our newsletter. And I would love you and others, representatives from both high school students that were interested, to be involved in that, because I think that you've interviewed students. I think that was my favorite. I mean, sure, I love when you interview the legislators, and that's great, and Mayor Perry, and it really shows, and he's, that was really enjoyable to watch. I've enjoyed working with Mayor Perry over the years. That was enjoyable. But when you're talking directly to students about what learning looks like in this virtual moment, and I'm having the opportunity, that meant so much to me, to listen to students that I don't normally get the opportunity to talk about the difficulties, the challenges, the successes, that you're telling the story for all of Middletown. So congratulations and thank you. Keep directing your own learning. Keep finding your voice and telling your story, and telling Middletown's story, and telling our school district story, because I've really enjoyed listening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
He's very nice. I like him.
He's very nice.